What's going on YouTube? This is SG1 Sports. If you're watching our college football channel, it does seem now like it's pretty much official. Hugh Freeze going to be the next head coach at Auburn. I was kind of waiting on this one. Of course, we jumped the gun on the Lane Kiffin news. Thought that was a done deal because there were multiple people reporting it. But this time, I mean, CBS, ESPN, Sports Illustrated, everyone is now on board with this. I guess something could still fall apart, but it appears that Hugh Freeze is now the choice for Auburn. They're finalizing the contract, and he's going to be the next head coach of the Tigers. I'll give you a quick reaction from me. I know that just looking online and reading things, there are a lot of fans that are not happy with this hire. I mean, they are outraged by this hire. And I actually thought that the reaction from a lot of the fans and maybe the donors would potentially move them away from Hugh Freeze, because I think we've pretty much known now for a couple of days that he was their top guy and they were trying to get something done with him. I thought maybe they would back off of this, but no, they have moved forward with Hugh Freeze. And again, I'll give you my take in just a second. Lane Kiffin, it didn't work out for whatever reason. I talked about that the other day. I don't think they ever really offered him. I think that they were in talks with his agent, and Kiffin was kind of kicking it around, and I don't know if he decided not to before they ever really gave him an offer, or maybe they just said, look, we're going to move on to Hugh Freeze. I don't know exactly what happened with Kiffin, but there was definitely something there for him not to just come out and deny that. And the way he reacted, you could tell there was something, and it was definitely a distraction, and it maybe cost Ole Miss at least their last game. I don't know. But again, looking here at Auburn and what Hugh Freeze. So the reason why a lot of fans are unhappy is it's because of the off the field stuff with Hugh Freeze. I'm not going to get too much into that. I think you need to be quick, or you don't need to be too quick to judge a person, though. You don't know all the details of every little thing, and I'm not going to be too quick to judge Hugh Freeze based off on his character. I've heard people come out and talk about how great of a person he is and how he is a real high character guy. I saw an interview with a former player, and they talked about how much he loves his players and he treats them not just like players, but almost like a father figure to them, and all this stuff. So you're going to get different things when you start talking about the character. Obviously, he screwed up at Ole Miss, made some mistakes, but if he doesn't do that again, if he does not make those mistakes again, if he learns from them, then I'm not really sure why it matters moving forward. Yeah, sure, he did some things he shouldn't have done there at Ole Miss, but if he does not do them at Auburn, it's not really a big deal. It really just matters at the end of the day about the results on the football field, as long as he has learned from those mistakes. Also, some sketchy things coming out, from when he was at Liberty, possibly DMing this girl. I don't know the details of all that, but I understand why fans are unhappy with this hire, but I would just say give him a chance. Just give him a chance, let him prove himself, prove that he has, learned from those mistakes, and we'll see if he is able to do that. I really was starting to think maybe I was getting on board with the whole Cadillac hire. I thought maybe you go hire Cadillac and spend some money on some coordinators. They could. I'm pretty sure that Cadillac would not have required a huge contract. So if you don't have to pay him too much, then you can go out and you get the highest paid coordinators in the country and bring those guys in. Let Cadillac go out there and recruit, motivate the team. Be there as a leader. And I was starting to really get on board with that and thought that maybe that was the way that they should go. And it would be risky, obviously. He really doesn't have any head coaching experience. Yeah, we've seen him here as an interim, but it's a little bit different when you're the head coach all the time. So it would have been risky, I get that, but I kind of would have liked to have seen that. But again, let's talk about Hugh Freeze here. I think the results speak for themselves. He only had one losing season there at Ole Miss. Had this team competing in the top 10. They won a Sugar Bowl, knocked off Alabama twice. What I most like about this hire, though, with Hugh Freeze is his ability to recruit. And if he can still do that like he did at Ole Miss, and you start getting the talent to Auburn, they can do something big. I really believe that. I think him as a recruiter first and foremost is why this is a really good hire. I think that on the field, again, that really speaks for itself. I know some are going to say, well, look at Liberty and how they kind of fell apart at the end of the season. Well, I'm pretty sure that they've been talking and with, Freeze and Auburn, and that was probably a distraction. Same thing, I think, like I said, happened with Kiffin, and you see the way Ole Miss finished the season. So I'm not going to hold that against them. They've had some good seasons there at Liberty. Remember, Liberty was not even an FBS team just a few years ago. So, I mean, he's done a really, really fantastic job there. Did a great job at Ole Miss. So we'll see what happens. I believe that he can do some big things at Auburn. And it, again, starts with recruiting, starts with a transfer portal class. They're going to need to bring in some veteran guys probably right away if they're going to make a big jump next year. I think he's going to be able to do that. The off-the-field stuff, we'll see if that turns out to be a problem. Does he continue to be a distraction? Does he make mistakes? Obviously, we have no idea about that. But as far as the on-the-field, the coaching aspect of this, I think it's a great hire, and I think it puts Auburn right there where they should be able to compete in the SEC West. Nick Saban, I believe that he's kind of starting to head downhill. You've got Brian Kelly at LSU there, going to be a force in the West. Lane Kiffin still at Ole Miss. Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. If they continue to recruit the way they have, they're going to get it figured out. You don't struggle. You don't continue to struggle when you've got that much talent. And we saw what they're capable of with the win over LSU. So this is going to be a really good division. You've got Mike Leach at Mississippi State. Sam Pittman's a great coach at Arkansas. So there's no reason to think that Auburn can't compete with these other teams with Hugh Freeze as their head coach. We'll see how it works out. Again, I think any move that they made was going to be risky. I think when you're playing in the toughest division in college football and you have to play Alabama and Georgia every year, there's a chance that, I don't care who the coach is, they're not going to succeed. And so I think there was a risk no matter who they hired. I think this is probably the best hire that they could have made from a coaching standpoint. And I believe it will pay off, and I think he's going to be a great coach. Could be wrong, but we'll see. And if you think it's just because I'm an Auburn guy, go back to the Brian Harsin hire. I was against it. I said that was a bad hire. So it's not just that I'm saying this is a good hire because it's Auburn. I absolutely did not think Brian Harsin was a good hire. That turned out to be correct. And by the way, I still believe Gus Malzahn should be the head coach, but I know there are plenty that are going to argue with that. But yeah, Hugh Freeze, the next head coach at Auburn as it appears. And we will see if he can, again, I think he can turn around pretty quick depending on who comes back this season. And if they can add some key players in the transfer portal, this is an Auburn team that could be a top 25 team next year. And who knows, maybe just in a 2 or 3 years, they could be competing in the SEC West. Will that work out? What do you think? Give me your thoughts on this hire down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.